not need to announce any new strategy for restructuring Cocoa Board. And as we expected, they could not announce any comprehensive strategy for restructuring Cocoa Board. If they implemented the strategy that we handed over to them, Cocoa Board will not be in this mess. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I am even surprised that the IMF is sleeping over this. Because we developed this strategy in consultation with the IMF as a requirement, one of the requirements for implementing the IMF program. I'm really surprised that the IMF has gone to sleep on this. And this government is recklessly managing the cocoa sector, which has brought us to this unprecedented crisis in the sector. Given the scale of the crisis in the sector now, a sector which is one of the most important pillars of our economy, one expected the government to give Cocoa Board a bailout, as we did during the MPP time, rather than reducing the producer price for cocoa. A bailout would have been necessary, particularly at the time we are told that the economy is strong and resilient. They said they are better managers of the economy. An economy that is better managed cannot pay cocoa farmers. An economy that is better managed reduces the producer price of cocoa. And so Ghanaians can see the deception and the narrative that the NDC government brought to them about our government, the previous MPP government, as having badly managed the economy. Ghanaians can now see who is better managing the economy. Ladies and gentlemen, the cocoa of Ghana, Ghana's cocoa, is now considered more expensive. And this has been confirmed by the CEO of Cocoa Board, my friend Randy Abe. He has confirmed in an interview that Ghana's cocoa is now more expensive, and therefore consumers are turning away from Ghana's cocoa, as a result of which demand for Ghana's cocoa has fallen. The reasons for this are not far-fetched. We warned this government about the reckless overvaluation of our currency. We warned them several times that these dollars they are pumping and pumping into the economy, that reckless intervention. Last year alone, they intervened to the tune of 10 billion United States dollars. The trend has continued. That reckless overvaluation of our currency will affect our economy. Because those of you who understand economics know that when you overvalue your currency, it adversely affects the export competitiveness of your country. And so, is it surprising that the competitiveness of cocoa on the global market is reducing? Is it surprising? Because this government thought that managing an economy is by pumping dollars to shore up the city. And now this is the effect. Overvaluation, when your currency appreciates unreasonably, as we are seeing, your exports suffer. Rather, what you see is promotion of imports. And so more imports are coming into our economy. Our exports are losing value on the international stage. And increasing imports will only come to reduce the domestic production base, because it will affect domestic production of goods and services. This is why you go to the market today, imported rice is now more expensive than locally produced rice. You go to the market, imported maize is now more expensive than locally produced maize. This government is cheaper. It's now cheaper than locally produced maize. This government should know, because they have economists amongst them. They should know that anytime you are implementing a policy, there are trade-offs. There are trade-offs, and therefore by overvaluing the currency as a policy, they should know that other sectors will suffer. So what a responsible government has to do is to achieve what we call policy equilibrium. Policy equilibrium, so that all sectors are protected. I'll give you an example. They tell us that inflation is now 3.8%. Good, isn't it? It's good. But if you look at what we call purchasing power parity approach in economics, it tells you that When your inflation is 3.8%, your currency should depreciate by at least 3.8% in order to protect exports. What do we see? They are going around bragging about appreciation. That is poor economics. When your inflation is 3.8%, your currency should depreciate by more than the inflation rate in order for you to protect your exports. Because your exports is your economy. Your exports create jobs. And so in this era of 24-hour economy, the least this government could do was to protect the exports of our country and thereby protect jobs in this country. Rather, at the time they passed the authority for 24-hour, they are also reducing the domestic production base and thereby reducing opportunities for employment in the country. And so, ladies and gentlemen, my view is that the figures they are branding about, inflation is this, the exchange rate is this, is killing, behind these inflation figures, is killing our economy. And the cocoa sector has just exposed them. The cocoa sector has just exposed them. Maize, I'm just coming from my constituency. They have piles of bags of maize that they are not able to sell, because people will go to buy the imported maize at the expense of locally produced maize. And so the efforts our farmers are putting into this work to save our economy, to save our country, to feed our country, this government, the NDC government, is recklessly undermining all these efforts. And it won't be long before Ghanaians will see the reality of this government. So I thank you very much.
Colleagues, good afternoon. Just to add a few more comments and then we will wrap up. First of all, we are of the view that the Republic of Ghana did not need an emergency cabinet meeting just for the purposes of discussing how to pay cocoa farmers. When you have to call an emergency cabinet meeting just for the purposes of discussing how to pay cocoa farmers, then there's a real crisis in government, which you are covering up with some numbers and some narratives. In the previous MPP era, payment of cocoa farmers was a matter of regular procedure. Now emergency cabinet meetings are being called just to discuss how to pay cocoa farmers. But to the more substantive argument, first of all, the announcement that Cocoa Board should immediately pay them, that announcement is of no effect. Because that announcement presumes that Cocoa Board has the money and was deliberately refusing to pay the farmers. Is that what was going on? No. Because if this whole press conference is about the fact that the government went to a cabinet meeting and has instructed Cocoa Board to pay the farmers, seriously, it raises more questions than answers. Because unless you are saying that the money was available and Cocoa Board was refusing, then what the government should be doing specifically is instructing that emergency liquidity assistance should be released to Cocoa Board to pay the farmers, not an announcement that they should be paid. But we don't want you to forget the two main causes of the crisis we're having in the cocoa sector now. Two main causes. Number one is that the new managers of the cocoa sector have reset the trading program of Cocoa Board. We used to sell about 70% on forward sales and 30% on spot. They argued that that was an incompetent approach and decided to change it. And now they are selling about 70% on spot. That is why today, as prices have dipped, they are struggling and are saying that the price they had announced ends up being higher than the current prices on the market. That's number one, because of their own decision to reset the trading model. Number two is the artificial injection of forex into the Ghanaian economy, which has overvalued our cedi, as Dr. Amin rightly explained, and is therefore making our exports relatively more expensive. Remember, we've been raising this matter for a while now. And when you say, they say, oh, dollar has come down, clap for us. Now we are beginning to see the effect, at least in the first area, in the cocoa sector. This action to announce a 28% reduction in the price amounts to a haircut of about 28% on close to 1 million Ghanaian cocoa farmers. You may not recognize it. 28.6% reduction. This 28.6% haircut is going to affect about 1 million cocoa farmers. And if you add to it the number of people who assist them on the farms and their dependents, my gosh, we're getting to maybe 3-4 million people are going to be affected by this haircut that the NDC government has announced. You see, when you manage an economy with artificial adjustments, the real effect will be realized on cocoa farms, in transport fares, in electricity bills, in school fees. Now you are beginning to see the real impact of some of the things that we are talking about. And it is now clear that this NDC government cannot be trusted. When the MPP moved cocoa prices from 475 Ghana cedis per bag to 3,100, they told the people of Ghana that we were robbing them and that they should actually be getting 6,000 to 7,000 Ghana cedis. And just about 1 year in their tenure, they could not even pay the 6,000. They now said 3,650. Look,
and 25.
3,625. And even that one, they can't pay. They have to call an emergency cabinet meeting to announce that Cocoa Board should pay. And then after that, they announced a 28% haircut on the poor Ghanaian farmer. One of the impacts, and that's what I want to conclude with. Already when you go into the cocoa growing areas, I was in my areas just a few days ago. A lot of young people are already not going into cocoa because they say the older folk who went into it, they don't see a transformation in their lives. It's left with the old, elderly, poor on the farms. When you do this, what is going to happen in subsequent years is that even those ones will not be going into the cocoa production. If they won't sell their cocoa farms to Galamsey operators, God knows what they will do. They will abandon their farms. Now, what it means also is that the productivity, the growth, the jobs, and the incomes that come from the cocoa sector, the foreign exchange that comes from the cocoa sector in subsequent years is all going to dwindle. And so we in the minority have a number of requests to government. All of this has come about because of the reset that Cocoa Board did. And that is why, respectfully, we ask the President to relieve the Cocoa Board CEO of his responsibilities at this point in time. Number two, we are asking the government that in previous times when cocoa prices fell and the government absorbed the shock and protected the cocoa farmer, the NDC government should absorb the cost of what they have done and protect the cocoa farmer and restore at least the 3,625 that they promised. This 2,800 or so that they are promising is totally unacceptable. Already we are receiving messages from cocoa farmers who say that if this is what is going to happen, they are going to demonstrate in a number of these. And if they do, we in this caucus, we will join them on the streets to do this demonstration. We thank you for the time and the opportunity that you gave us. Okay. For me, born to talk for a tree, kitty. Edi kaino. Na ehun hia sa ban be free cabinet meeting, emergency cabinet meeting say e kwadwendwen kwan e be fa so atua koko akuafo eka. Edu emra e wo sa wo free cabinet meeting say wo kwadwendwen kwan a betua koko akuafo ka. Na kire say asem wo ho e na wo katakata so. Asem kese wo ho na wo katakata so. Na sa announcement we o man say Cocoa Board enkotua akuafo no. Eni nyina so obi esan say e kamia say neska no wo ho deda. And a Cocoa Board, a bois passe, or muntua. Nanya Sade away announcement or munkotua saying. There was a binding and say, or Chef Finance Minister and I, we know Kasani say, Precope, Uncle Pesica, their friend emergency liquidity assistance, Emma Cocoa Board, na Cocoa Board in Fintua. Sanya Sana Becase, or munkotua Cadia, and then the chess and Escan Woho. Now Brony Trimodintin and Onya Day, Untua. Now, and then I cover whereby, and Pesa More Befinima, you know, I cover whereby, Bacone say, Aban we buy no mas sakra o mas sakwan e fa so ton ye koko first na ye de ani hwe daache ebo future prices and as a forward trading na ya ton o hanchichemu edioson 70%. On buy no say yen nim ye nti o mas sa no o mapam mpanifo ni bia ye de o monkofo abehim ena no mas sa no say o mo beye 30% on futures eno na akofa we aba etosu menu de akofa we aba ye dollars o mo pompigu system ne mu nti no Amagana city no na hoden epeja ekwan a onni nyina so nti wo de eniema kwa amanone ana ne bo akoye den nti no mse ekoko ne bo ayeden ayeden na ye ka chem se economy wo manage na wo de sa na da we ne ntrikisi we ya ebewi akire no wo se obekọ koko akuafo ho no wo to bedadi wo bekọ light bill mu no wo to bedadi wobɛkɔ transferred first mu no woto bɛyɛ den ɛbɛda di ɛnɛ akuafoɔ nyinaa nyɛ koko akuafoɔ po wɔn adua mo wobɛkɔ na ɛmo no yɛate agu warehouse sɛ atɔfoɔ ni hɔ ɛsiane sɛ ɛmo efi aburokyire ba no ne boɔ abɛyɛ fo ɛsen deɛ dua wɔ ha no adentia ɛsiane sɛ yɛawɔ dollar ne pin enti no ama yɛn nneɛma ne boɔ ayɛ den asen ama no ne nneɛma na deɛ si aban etwa koko akuafoɔ mene sɛ yɛka no pɔtɔ kasa mu a 28% haircut wɔtwa ɔmo mene ɔha nkyikyɛmu aduonu wɔtwe na ne nsonsansoɔ ne sɛ ɛnɛ wokɔ yɛn nkuraase ne bebree a koko na mmeranteɛ no biom aka mmerewa ne nkokora na ɛdɔ sɛ mmerewa ne nkokora yi a ɛdɔ yi ɛhia wɔn deda deɛ wayɛ ɔkyena ɔmbɛdɔ biom anaasɛ ɔmbɛtɔn wɔn afuo ama galamseefoɔ ne ne aka enyuma foreign exchange ɛne bodwabodwa kakra a yɛnya firi kokom sɛ ne nyinaa ɛba abɛyɛ den ɛba abɛkɔ fam ɛno nti dɔm kumaa no deɛ ayɛ sie ni ɛdi kan deɛ akɔfa wei nyinaa ba ɛne nsesaeɛ a koko mpanimfoɔ koko boardfoɔ ayɛ ɛno nti yɛsrɛ ɔma mpanin sɛ saa bere mpanimfoɔ a ɔde wɔn kɔɔ koko board a ɔma kɔfa saa ɔhaw wei nyinaa ba no ɔnna wɔn ase na ɔmo nkɔyɛ den ɔmo nkɔtena fie na ɔmo anim adwuma no yɛ no ɛmbɛsom na ɔmo nyɛ no yie ɛtɔ so mmienu koko na ɔkaa sɛ ɔbɛtua wɔn 6,000 to 7,000 na afei edi kan wɔntua ɔhyɛ wɔn bɔ sɛ ɔbɛtua 3,600 a ɛnu mpo ntua na nkɔfoɔ edi apiniɛ bɛyɛ bosomi bɛyɛ mmiɛnsa nan ni no so ɔka sɛ ɔbɛte so akɔ 2,800 deɛ a yɛte ase a ɛnyɛ den ɛnyɛ yie nti yɛsrɛ ɔnsan fɛn ko gyina wo deɛ wonni bi ɛma wase a sɛ wo nsan mmɔ no korɔ no nka ho wo deɛ ɔnsan fɛn ko gyina 3,600 no na ban kwan ɔno abɛfɔ so apɛ sɛ sika na sɔ so no ɔnsɔ so yɛn yɛ apɛn so saa na ɛyɛ no ɔnsɔ so na ɔka sɛ ɔbɛte so aba saa 2,800 and something na akuafoɔ no bi text yɛn mpanimfoɔ sɛ ɔmo bɛte agu abɔnten ayɛ ɔyɛkyerɛ sɛ ba ne sɛ ɔmbɛyɛ saa yɛn dɔm kuma wei sei yɛbɛka ɔmo ho ama ɔmo ayɛ sɛ adwuma yɛda mo ase yɛda mo ase yɛda mo ase
All right, and so there you have it. You have 3 ranking members of 3 major committees from the minority side that has just addressed the press, making that strong demand that the Cocoa Board CEO must be relieved of his duty because he has failed to address the teething challenges at the Ghana Cocoa Board. Also, they say that if there is going to be any demonstration by the cocoa farmers, they are going to join in. So let me try to see if I can get the ranking member on the cocoa affairs for a quick interaction. You're live on TV3. We are live. Ranking. So what demand are you making? You say that government has failed cocoa farmers. In what way?
As for me, I'm making only one demand. Just one demand. The old price should be restored. Because it's unprecedented. I've never heard about, producer price being reduced. It has never happened in the history of this country. Cocoa farmers have supported this economy for decades. And today, if the international price has gone down, the cocoa farmer should not be made to suffer. So my only, request to His Excellency the President is that the old price should be restored.
But some are saying that you are talking about all of these reforms that must be carried out. The question many are asking is that why didn't you carry some of these reforms when you were in administration?
Which reform didn't we carry out? Tell me, which reform didn't we carry out? Which reform? Nanado introduced the what do you call it, the mass pollination. Kofo introduced the mass spraying and the high-tech program. So all the reforms which needed to be carried out was carried out. This government said they were going to do massive reform. What is the reduction of producer price reform that cocoa farmers were looking for? Certainly not. So this government, if they tell you to look, upstairs, please look somewhere in between. Even if you look down, you'll be in trouble.
You say you are sad. Finally, you say you are sad.
I'm the saddest day in my life. Saddest day. You cannot reduce the producer price of cocoa. You cannot. You cannot. Cocoa farmers have toiled to look after this economy for decades. So you cannot treat them like that. So I'm sad, very sad indeed.
That is Isaac Yawopoku, doctor. He is the ranking on the Committee of Food, Agric and Cocoa Affairs. Let me just quickly run you through some of the major pointers of the presser that they have just addressed. And when you listen to the ranking on the Finance Committee, the former Finance Minister, Dr. Amin Adam, he makes the point that government could not announce any comprehensive measure or reform to address the current challenge, which called for the emergency cabinet meeting, which was held yesterday. In fact, the ranking on the Economy and Development Committee, Upon Nkrumah, mentions that cabinet meeting was needless, and the assumption or the announcement that Cocoa Board should now pay cocoa farmers presupposes that Cocoa Board probably had enough cash, enough funds to pay cocoa farmers, but decided to sit on those funds. So that is one point that they make. In fact, Amin Adam also mentions that he is surprised that the International Monetary Fund, as of now, has gone very quiet and very silent on this matter. He also mentions that they expected government to at least give Cocoa Board a bailout and not reduce the producer price, which has yielded in this conversation that we are having currently. Now, one thing that he says is that all that government is doing, looking at the inflation figures for January, the year-on-year inflation figures, when you look at how they are parading and, going about touting the figures, they are forgetting to know that other sectors of the economy have not been well attended to, and he is of the view that the cocoa crisis has exposed government a big time. And so that is what they say. But Upon Nkrumah mentions that the reduction, which he pegs it at 28% as of now, is going to affect some 1 million cocoa farmers across the country. And so if anything at all, they on the minority side are asking government or the president a direct message that he relieves the Cocoa Board CEO, Randy Abe, of his duty, and that should there be any demonstration by the cocoa farmers, they are going to support that demonstration to drum home that effect of bringing about the necessary changes that are demanded at or needed at the Ghana Cocoa Board. So, Kemini, Dennis and team, this has been the quick reaction from the minority. You have had three figures on their rankings. Ranking member on the Food, Agri, Cocoa Affairs, Isaac Opoku, followed by the ranking on the Finance Committee, Amin Adam, a former Finance Minister, and also ranking on the Economy and Development Committee, Upon Nkrumah, also a former Information and Housing Minister. And so those are their demands. Two things: a relief of Randy Abe of his duty as Cocoa Board CEO, and also if government does not restore the producer price to at least what they inherited, then they are going to join cocoa farmers to embark on a monumental demonstration to drum home that effect. We have come to you from the President of Parliament. Back to you in studios.
Christian Yale with the summaries after a minority press conference on the challenges faced by the cocoa sector and government plans to resolve them. We'll now return you to regular programming. We're back at 7 p.m. with more news.
Ready for school?
Yes!
My champs, they use a lot of energy at school. I know because imagine the energy they may have used up to return home this transformed every day.
Your champs need nourishment and energy. Give them the Milo Energy at breakfast, now with vitamin D that supports energy release to help their daily performance. Milo, energy to go further. This advert is FDA approved.
Why settle for a bouquet when you can have a vacation?
Join us at the Chill River Resort in Cape Town,
where the world stops and the focus is entirely on the two of you, just you and your lover.
From the 13th of February to the 15th,
we're leaving the chaos of a crowd behind for a weekend of intimacy and play.
Think boat cruise,
the heat of a bonfire, and the kind of serenity that lets you explore every moment together.
Limited rooms are available for just 2,000 2,200 Ghana cedis only to enjoy 2 nights of luxury and pleasure.
Inclusive of special decor, candlelight dinner, and wine on arrival for you.
The room is ready. Are you?
Visit mgtix.africa
Or call 054-788-6258 to book now.
Your most intimate Valentine yet is waiting.
I want to kiss him.
Went to a powerful juju man to kill whoever stole his mind.
I was to stay awake from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. for the rest of my life.
Get ready for the most